Hello, everybody. You are listening or watching Chatting with Candice. I'm your host, Candice Horback. Before we jump into the episode, as always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, please, and thank you. This week, we have a solo episode. Biggest piece of news is RFK officially dropped out and is now endorsing the Trump campaign, which I feel like if you go through my Twitter from at least a year ago, I was saying this needs to happen. I just wish he was a running mate. That is the only thing that could be better. Recently, I had Chase Geiser on the episode, and we went into this long thing where he thought that RFK was a CIA plant, and he was purposely placed there to steal the votes from Trump in order to make sure that the Biden-Harris, or now just the Harris team, won. And he made this really long thread on how that he was admittedly wrong and how this is a great thing. And this is, I think, it's going to be a slam dunk now. So I'm excited about it. And I think that it shows a huge shift in Trump recently. Like him or not, it's undeniable that something has changed. He has Tulsi Gabbard advising him and helping him with the debate. She's obviously amazing. And I think he's not really known for taking advice. He kind of does his own thing, which is can be a really good thing, but it can also be a bit of an Achilles heel. So that shows a big shift. And then how welcoming he was to RFK and having him on stage, and there's going to be a place for him in the cabinet, also just shows that he's much more of a team player, I think. So I'm really excited about this. I would love to see where it goes. They suggested starting a unity party, which would work on 3 key issues. One would be ending the FDA corruption and chronic disease epidemic from chemicals in our food. I'm all for that. Ending the war in Ukraine, instead using that funding, which is currently $200 billion. I think we could use that at home. What do you think? And 3, end censorship, as the people who were censoring throughout history have never been the good guys, says RFK's running mate, Nicole Shanahan. I completely agree. So we had the FDA that is responding to RFK's claim that 50% of the FDA's budget comes from pharma companies and not taxpayers. Let's see what their response is to this crazy claim. This figure is not accurate, as industry users' fees only make up about 47% of the FDA's total agency budget. It is important to note that food color additives fall under the foods program, because we know that food coloring additives have no neurological effect on people and children and their behavior and attention and what we call attention deficit. Now, what do you think? Do you want that stuff in your food or in your kids' food?
This is your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. You all know what they are. We've had a lot of fun with them. It's called the America First Collection. 50 all-new stunning digital trading cards. It's really something. These cards show me dancing and even me holding some Bitcoins. Here's the best part. I'm doing great things for my Trump digital card collectors. First, there's the real physical Trump cards. Purchase 15 or more of my Trump digital trading cards and we'll mail you a beautiful physical trading card. It's really, I think, quite something. Each physical trading card has an authentic piece of my suit that I wore for the presidential debate, and people are calling it the knockout suit. I don't know about that, but that's what they're calling it. So we'll cut up the knockout suit and you're going to get a piece of it, and we'll be randomly autographing 5 of them, a true collector's item. This is something to give your family, your kids, your grandchildren. Number 2 is to purchase 75 of my Trump digital trading cards, and you will also be invited to join me for a gala dinner at my beautiful country club in Jupiter, Florida. We really have tremendous dinners with my collectors. Have a lot of fun together. We're gonna have a good time. I'm keeping my Trump digital trading cards at the same price of $99 each. We've done that right from the beginning. So go to collecttrumpcards.com. It's really easy to buy. You just need an email address and a credit card or crypto. You know, they call me the crypto president. I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of people are saying that. So don't miss out. Go to collecttrumpcards.com. Go right now and collect your piece of American history. Let's have fun together and enjoy my Trump cards. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll be talking about it for a long time. Thank you very much. Have a good time.
Let the fight begin.
How do you not like that guy? That is hilarious. Somehow he has been labeled the crypto president. And I love that you can just say, they're calling me this. I don't know about that, but that's what they're saying. And you can just like make these claims about yourself as if you're not making claims about yourself. I think it's beautiful. He does seem very bullish on Bitcoin, which is awesome. That's a really big community. And I think that a lot of us are looking for sovereignty when it comes to currency. So a lot of people are politicizing cryptocurrency, and we'll see who ends up being the most crypto friendly. I think without question it's going to be the Trump political party. They're going to be the ones that are protecting your Bitcoin. Oh, this is great. So the Nelk boys go undercover as a Harris supporter and place campaign signs in front of people's houses. This woman's response is hysterical.
Hi.
Hello there. Hi, I work for the Harris and Waltz campaign.
Take it off.
No, I'm going to leave it there because...
No, you're not going to leave it there.
Oh, why?
Because I can't stand them.
Do you not support tampons in men's bathrooms?
No, I don't support tampons in men's bathrooms.
Why?
Because tampons are for women. Where are they going to stick it? Up their ass? Get it the fuck out of here.
Well,
Get it out of my property.
It looks good there, though. Wait, don't touch my sign. That's my sign.
I don't give a shit. They're a bunch of fucking communists.
You didn't address me by my pronouns.
What are you, a he, she? Fucking transgender is what you are.
I'm two-spirit.
Oh no, that's funny. But she's also very angry. I'm not a Harris fan. I think that's well established, but I wouldn't yell like that. Ooh, let's look at the rules for the September 10th debate.
Former President Donald Trump has just announced that despite hedging and saying that he potentially may skip it, he does plan to go ahead with the debate with Vice President Kamala Harris just 2 weeks from today.
He made this official just moments ago, posting on Truth Social that he has reached an agreement to face off with Harris in their first head-to-head debate on September 10th on ABC. And for more on this, let's bring in CNN's Kristen Holmes. Kristen, tell us what you're learning.
He calls her Comrade Harris.
Well, Brianna, what we are told is that this impasse between the Harris and Trump campaign appears to be over. And the big, remember, issue that both sides were having was over whether or not the mics would be muted. In that first debate that Donald Trump did on CNN, they essentially had agreed to muting the mics while the other candidate was talking. Donald Trump's team thought that that worked out well for him. Well, then we heard from Harris's team saying they didn't actually want those mics muted. So this has led to a sort of impasse. They were not happy with it. Donald Trump's team said they wanted the CNN rules. Now they are saying that they have come to an agreement with Kamala Harris and that it's going to be broadcast on ABC Rules. As we know, the rules will be the same as the last CNN debate. This is what Donald Trump is saying, which seemed to work out well for everyone except Joe Biden. And then it says the debate will be, quote, stand up, meaning they won't be seated. The candidates cannot bring notes or, quote, cheat sheets. We've also been given assurance by ABC that this will be a fair and equitable debate and that neither side will be given the questions in advance. I did call a senior advisor after Donald Trump put this out to make sure about this issue on muting the mics. They said, yes, it does mean that the mics will be muted while the other candidate is speaking. So this would be a win for Donald Trump's team here.
I think that is going to work out really well for Donald Trump because I think the biggest thing that gets him into trouble is him. So if he learns to not talk over her, especially because she's a woman, it's going to just be used against him. So it's better for him to be polite during the debate, not do personal attacks. I think don't focus on like any of the race stuff. It's just, I don't find it to be helpful. So I think he right now is his biggest threat to the presidency. So if he can just kind of rein it in and stay calm and let her talk, she's going to talk in circles and she's going to talk about coconuts and falling from coconut trees and time is space and time, and just let her do her thing, Donald. Kamala Harris, her latest interview, blames Trump for the border wall security failure, despite being VP for 3.5 years.
Issue, big one, is immigration. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
Even if that was true, even if it was true that Trump squashed a bill, she's been in office for 3.5 years. So how exactly is that still his fault? Kamala does not regret lying about Biden's mental decline. Ooh, this is juicy. Let's look at this.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
The disposition, and he is so sharp. Sharpest guy in the room. How much more can you gaslight the people? Oh, Trump says a nuclear disaster is the problem, not global warming.
I'd like to go to Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's a major concern of a lot of Americans. We've sent over $175 billion. We've seen no progress. And so I think a lot of people want to know, when you get into office, if you get into office, will you be able to sit Zelensky and Putin down and have them negotiate a deal so that we can spend the next $175 billion on our own infrastructure?
So let me tell you, 2 countries. Should have never happened, would have never, ever happened. And it didn't happen. For 4 years, there was no talk about Russia going in. I knew Putin very well, got along with him actually great. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. By the way, people say, oh, he got along with the stupid press. They go, some of the stupid press. Some of the press is not stupid at all. But they say he got along with Putin. That's a terrible thing. He said, no, that's a good thing. He's got 1,800 nuclear weapons. So do we. The biggest risk today, when I hear these poor fools talking about global warming, they don't call it that anymore. They call it climate change because, some parts of the planet are cooling and warming. It didn't work. So they finally got it right. They call it climate change. They used to call it global warming. Years ago, they used to call it global cooling. In the 1920s, they thought the planet was going to freeze. Now they think the planet's going to burn up. And we're still waiting for the 12 years. We're down almost to the end of the 12-year period. You understand that, where these lunatics that know nothing, they weren't even good students at school. They didn't even study it. They said, we have 12 years to live. And people didn't have babies because they said, we only have another. No, it's so crazy. But the problem isn't the fact that the oceans in 500 years will raise a quarter of an inch. The problem is nuclear weapons. It's nuclear warming. The level of power of the nuclear weapon today, you take a look, go back many, many decades and look at Hiroshima, Nagasaki. That was so many years ago. And now you look at today and multiply that, what took place there, by 300 or 400 times. That's the problem. That's the biggest risk today. Now, with our country, the biggest risk is always that. But we also have some very bad people. You have crazy Nancy Pelosi and all these lunatics within our government. They're lunatics. and it's a real problem. The biggest problem we have, and the world has, is weaponry of other kinds too, not just nuclear. But nuclear weapons are so massive and so powerful and so destructive. And these poor fools talk about global warming all the time. You know, the planet's going to global warm to a point where the oceans will rise.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from that for me is that we need to be focusing on the immediate threats, the immediate issues. Even back to that clip that we shared with the Nelk boys, it's funny, but how mad that woman was about trans stuff and bathrooms and tampons in bathrooms, that doesn't mean anything. Like that is the distraction. That is the distraction from a potential World War III. It's like, hey, look at this inflammatory thing over here that's going to get you enraged, and don't focus on the thing we're actually trying to steal or the dangers that are knocking on your doorstep. So don't get distracted. I think just don't get distracted by like climate change and the world is going to end and catch on fire and there's tampons in boys' bathrooms. That's not important. What is important is that most people are really struggling to pay their bills right now. They can't put food on the table. The food that they're putting on their table is poison. And the whole world might be in war because we have a giant military industrial complex that is in hungry ghosts and doesn't get enough. So yeah, maybe focus on bigger, more pressing issues. In other news, we've got Zuck news. Zuckerberg, he's been doing a really successful rebrand and everyone has been noticing. In a recent letter to the House Judiciary Committee, Chairman Jim Jordan met CEO Mark Zuckerberg, acknowledged that his company was under pressure from the Biden administration. He made decisions to censor certain content, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. Zuckerberg expressed regret for not being more vocal against this pressure and admitted that Meta demoted content, such as the Hunter Biden laptop story, due to government influence, as the FBI claimed it was Russian propaganda. While he maintained that the final censorship decision were made by Meta, he pressed the government's pressure played a significant role. The admission has been celebrated by Republicans, including Jim Jordan, as a victory for free speech, while the White House defended its actions as necessary due to the pandemic to protect public health. That is what you want to be terrified of, is the government saying that they are there to protect you and to help you, because they are not. And all they're trying to do is make you less capable and them more powerful. So if someone is trying to restrict any of your freedoms for the sake of safety, you don't deserve it if you allow it. And that's not the reason that they're doing it, and you'll never get it back. So immediately you should have your ears perk up and say this is bullshit, and absolutely not.
We have example after example of this administration coordinated, apparently, according to a federal court, by your agency, pressuring, coercing social media companies to engage in censorship. Is that constitutional?
That is unequivocally false.
Is what the emails show.
It is unequivocally false, Senator.
You are not pressuring the big tech companies to take down accounts. You are not meeting with them to ask them to censor on your behalf.
That is correct. We are not.
Here's my point, Mr. Secretary. It has been established for years in this country, as you very well know because you're a lawyer, that the federal government may not use private third parties to engage in activities that are unconstitutional. That's exactly what you and this administration are doing. You are leveraging private companies to carry out censorship on your behalf. It's dystopian, but worse than that, it's unconstitutional.
It's also false.
Turn now to a story breaking overnight. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg claims he was pressured by the White House to censor content related to COVID-19 during the pandemic. Aaron Katersky joins us now with details. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning to you, Whit. For years, critics have taken aim at Facebook for silencing views that challenge the general consensus in the medical community, especially about the origin of COVID-19. Now, Facebook's founder surprisingly says they're right. This morning, Meta chief Mark Zuckerberg admitting he bowed to pressure from the Biden administration to censor content. The Facebook founder issuing a letter to the House Judiciary Committee that said senior administration officials pushed the social media platform to censor posts about COVID-19 and expressed a lot of frustration when the company resisted. Zuckerberg saying, "I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it." Adding, "I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we're ready to push back if something like this happens again." House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan celebrating the letter, calling it a big win for free speech.
That was 2024. What is the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? About 18 months. My question is, why aren't these people behind bars? So you go to jail if you pick the wrong mushroom and you want to sell that mushroom or you want to eat that mushroom. But you can lie to the American people, you can stifle free speech, you can tread on the Constitution, and that's okay? Nothing for you? Lie to the people? Perjury? Isn't perjury supposed to be taken seriously? Like if you're a civilian and you get caught as as a perjure? Whatever the word would be. Like, isn't that jail time? So this was just in. Zuckerberg regrets working with the Biden-Harris administration to censor COVID information. I hope this is true. I hope that he really has a newfound love for freedom. He seems to be pretty supportive of Trump. He was saying that that photo of him getting off of the stage when he had blood on his face and the flag behind him was the most badass thing that he's seen. I hope that this is true, especially with him being in charge of something so powerful like Meta. It needs to be entirely unacceptable to have government interfering with private businesses and telling them that they need to be censoring the American people. That should not be okay. That should not be tolerated. That should not be accepted. And when that happens, I hope that more of these CEOs and whistleblowers will come forward and we can see what people are trying to do behind the scenes. And maybe that will help wake some people up. This is by Geiger Capital. Simply imagine if Zuckerberg had confessed that the Trump White House pressured his company to censor things that they didn't like, and then Trump had the CIA, FBI falsely claim that the laptop story they knew was real was fake to help him win the election. It would be Watergate and it would be impeachment. This is true. Different rules for different administrations. Silly. You silly bird.
Facebook and Instagram. New Mexico's Attorney General is accusing the social media giant and its CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, of enabling child sex abuse and trafficking on its sites. CBS News senior business and technology correspondent Jolene Kent reports on the undercover investigation that used AI.
It was shocking, quite frankly, to see the explosion of sexual interest in these kids almost immediately.
New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres says his investigation into Meta found that Facebook and Instagram's algorithms created a marketplace for the sexual exploitation of children. The civil lawsuit alleges Meta enabled adults to find, message, and groom minors, soliciting them to sell pictures or participate in pornographic videos. Law enforcement set up an undercover operation using test accounts like this one, showing AI-generated photos of a fictional 13-year-old girl from Albuquerque. The complaint says followers flooded the account with unsolicited messages, filled with pictures and videos of genitalia, which she received at least.
This person that made the tweet with the news story said, why aren't they arresting Zuckerberg for enabling this? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. He's not responsible for what people post. I think he is responsible for reporting anything that they find in order to try to protect these children and also find these monsters. It's interesting because I recently did an episode where we talked to Layla Mickelway, and that got a lot of mixed feedback. And I can't speak to her. There was some stuff that came out about her being an actress. I'm not really sure. What I do know is it doesn't matter. What matters is that we are protecting kids and we are finding the root of this evil and we were trying to pluck it out. I don't think that a platform or especially the CEO or founder is responsible for what's on there, but they are, again, responsible for once they find it to report it and remove it. This is one of those problems that if you talk to anyone in the space, it is very hard. It is very hard to keep off of every platform. It's even harder to find out who's posting it because everything is so encrypted. And if these kids are missing, to be able to find them. And what's even worse is with developments in now there's a lot of AI content. And some people were suggesting that as a solution, that if AI content was allowed, even if it was of minors, that would somehow protect the kids. And it's actually false. If you talk to anyone in the field right now, the excess amount of AI content that is depicting children makes it so much harder for them to see what is AI content, what is AI generated content versus what is actual child exploitation content. Some of it is so hyper realistic they can't tell. And that's actually putting the kids in danger. So I do think that that material, even though it's AI generated, needs to be illegal in order to protect the children. I think that it's a very hard no, even though it's not real. I think it's doing a lot of damage. But again, I don't think this is a Zuckerberg thing. I think it's an internet problem and it's a predator problem. And you can do things like donate to Operation Rescue Children, ORC. I'll donate that below. Child Rescue Coalition is also great. They do a lot of work online, and there are countless other operations, Underground Railroad, like all of these things we will link in the description below. You can donate to these people that are making a really big difference. Moving on, we have South Korea sex ring deepfake porn. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol, I'm probably really butchered that, I apologize, called for an investigation into deepfake porn on Tuesday, August 27th. Media previously reported that the Telegram chat rooms, including ones with over 220,000 members, were sharing explicit images of minors at school and universities and sparked public outrage. Online deepfake sex crimes have surged, according to South Korean police. A total of 297 cases were reported in the first 7 months of the year, up to 180 in the whole of last year and 160 in 2021. Teenagers were responsible for more than 2/3 of the offenses over the past 3 years. The Korean Teachers Union, meanwhile, believes more than 200 schools have been affected in the latest string of incidences. The number of deepfakes targeting teachers has surged in the past couple of years, according to the Ministry of Education. Man, so basically, these kids are making content of other kids and faculty. So 2/3 of the content is actually being made by minors. I don't know what you do with that. I think, like I just said in the clip before this, without even knowing, is that because the content is so realistic, it's so hyper realistic that it's actually doing a lot of damage and confusion in the space of actually finding real victims. It needs to just be illegal. Now, I'm not saying to put a kid in jail because their brain's not done, but there does need to be a pretty severe and swift consequence for that. And if you're raising the type of kid that's doing this, like, shame on you as a parent, and pay attention. We are in the future, folks, and it's getting weird. This is from Jeff Benjamin. I read about the shocking news that a Telegram sex crime ring in South Korea was discovered with 220,000 male users. AI was used to Photoshop women's faces into porn. Students are even worried about going to school in case their likeness is caught and turns them into victims. But what's all more shocking is when you look at the number of users and remember the country had just 230,000 births in 2023. Yeah, what do you do? Again, like, are you just putting all these kids in jail, or there's like a bigger issue here? If you're so quick to dehumanize somebody, especially a young, like a minor, that's going to be shocking for them to see themselves in that kind of situation. So I think there needs to be a pretty swift and harsh punishment, but I'm not saying that like the kids need to go to jail for the rest of their life. That doesn't make sense. It's shocking that a Telegram channel could get that big and that this wasn't discovered. We say encrypted, but nothing is. You know, they broke into Tucker Carlson's phone on Signal, so nothing's encrypted. We just pretend. So an account that big, that is questionable as to why that wasn't shut down much sooner. Whoa, this is a map. They say a feminist in South Korea has mapped out schools where deepfake child abuse content was created by male students using photos of girls on Telegram. That's a lot of schools. Why is all the weird sex stuff in Asia always? Does anyone know the answer to that? You know what my solution is? Stop giving your kid a phone, unbridled access to the internet. How about that? That's the thing that makes the most sense, that most people have been saying, that seems pretty commonsensical, and we're not doing. Stop giving your idiot kid access to powerful technology that their little brains are not ready for. And if you catch them messing up, then you correct that behavior immediately. But to me, that just shows a whole bunch of people that have zero empathy because they're not thinking about the other person. So you already messed up there. And then they're, again, having access to a technology that is way beyond what they should. So yeah, take the freaking devices away. And if you give it to them, monitor it. There's your workable solution. Amendment 4 to abortion laws in Florida and Trump standing up for women's reproductive rights. I haven't read this yet. We're about to read this. But you know what I'm going to say? I have had this conversation with so many people, and I really think Trump used to be, and probably still is, a little bit more what you would call liberal. I'm not saying as a Democrat, but I'm saying he has probably more opinions that are in the middle than they are on the hard right. Let's see what this says, but I'm not surprised by this at all. I'm a little bit surprised that it's public, but let's find out. Amendment 4 in Florida proposes to enshrine a right to abortion in the state constitution, allowing the procedure up to fetal viability, typically around 24 weeks. This amendment would overturn the current 6-week abortion ban that was implemented under Governor Ron DeSantis. Former President Donald Trump has expressed that he finds 6-week ban to be too restrictive, suggesting support for extending the abortion timeline, but has not clearly stated how he will vote on Amendment 4. His stance contrasts with DeSantis, who strongly opposes the amendment and supports the existing ban. That is fascinating. I think a lot of people were under the assumption that because of the Supreme Court ruling that Donald Trump is not for freedom in any way in that department. And I think what he was saying and what he was doing by putting those judges in is that he just firmly believes in states' rights. And I do too. I think that states should be allowed to decide what they want to do. If you have one state that wants to be a little bit crazy with it, then, that state is going to have a different constitution than one that wants to be more conservative. In the topic of states' rights and making decisions like that, I do support states' rights. Ben Shapiro's tweet: Democrats attempt to legalize abortion to the point of birth in Florida via Amendment 4 is a disgrace. They are trying to enshrine abortion on demand in the state constitution. Every Republican and moderate should oppose this. What I read is the 24 weeks. So if it's up, that's very, very, very different up until the point of birth. I'm not sure which one that is. I think to the point of birth is disgusting and that should never be allowed. This one I found really fascinating. Trump believes IVF should be fully subsidized by the government or insurance.
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women, IVF treatment. Because we want more babies, to put it very nicely. And for this same reason, we will also allow new parents to deduct major newborn expenses from their taxes, so that parents that have a beautiful baby will be able. So we're pro-family. Nobody's ever said that before. But the IVF treatments are expensive. It's very hard for many people to do it and to get it. But I've been in favor of IVF right from the beginning.
Fascinating. Well, I'm all about the subsidies and helping out new families. I think we need to be encouraging things that are helping create new life. And we see a significant decline in birth globally, but it's getting to a point where it is a little bit scary, and whether or not we'll have enough people to support the infrastructure is come into question. So we definitely need more babies. And if we can help people make that decision by subsidies, I think that's great. IVF is a very tricky topic because it's very charged. I don't necessarily know where I fall in line with that. I think it's great. Chase Geyser was recently on, and I think he changed my mind the most. We briefly talked about it on his episode, and I was asking him his opinion on it, and the way that he described it actually made sense. And it's just, we need more babies, we need more families, we need to be more pro-family, and whatever way that we can do that is a good thing right now. So I support that. I support people who want kids to be able to have kids, and the insurance companies take enough money, so it's about time they contribute something, unless you're allowed to kill your baby whenever you want.
Friends, I believe America cannot truly be prosperous unless Americans are fully able to make their own decisions about their own lives, especially on matters of heart and home. But tonight, in America, too many women are not able to make those decisions. And let's be clear about how we got here. Donald Trump handpicked members of the United States Supreme Court to take away reproductive freedom. And now he brags about it. In his words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," end quote. Well, I'll tell you, Over the past 2 years, I've traveled across our country, and women have told me their stories. Husbands and fathers have shared theirs. Stories of women miscarrying in a parking lot, developing sepsis, losing the ability to ever again have children, all because doctors are afraid they may go to jail for caring for their patients. Couples just trying to grow their family, cut off in the middle of IVF treatments.
This is crazy because if you're going to make these audacious claims, I want to see some evidence. I was talking to a girlfriend the other day at dinner, and she was asking on the abortion topic. There is not a single state where you are forced to carry a baby to term if it's not viable, if the mother's health is at risk, or if you have been assaulted. Not a single state. Not a single state. There are people out there that disagree with those things, but they're not the majority. So none of that is true. And then as you saw with the clip, he's very supportive of IVF, and that being cut off, it's going to be cut off for probably a reason that the people can't afford to pay it anymore because it's just wildly expensive. There's no one coming in and saying you can't do this. I think there was that case in Arkansas or Alabama where they are trying to change it to murder if something happens to the embryos, and that's a little bit crazy. The thing about the abortion topic that I find so fascinating is people are so attached to it. Like, it is the thing that is going to make or break their decision as to who they're voting for. And if you were to ask most of these people that are like so supportive of it and like means so much to them, like, have you ever had an abortion? Most of them are going to say no. Do you ever see yourself having an abortion? Most of them are going to say no. So then why is this something that is deciding who you vote for and who's going to run the country? I don't understand why this is the thing that people are so obsessed with. Like, the obsession of being able to have access to an abortion, to me, is just so weird. There are so many options. You can track your cycle, and that you can do really, really accurately, especially if you have a normal cycle, a normal like 28-ish day cycle, and they have apps. Then you've got condoms. Then you've got birth control. Then you've got Plan B. You've got pullout. You have you have abstinence. Like, there are so many options that prevent a pregnancy, and the obsession around the topic is just bonkers to me. I think everything that we said in the couple clips before just shows that none of this is even true. He thinks 6 weeks is too early, so we don't know how he's going to vote, but he did say that he thinks that's too early. Again, I think he's just more for states' rights. It has nothing to do with not allowing women access to an abortion, period. He just wanted states to make that decision for themselves. And I think that they should. Like, California shouldn't be Texas, and Texas shouldn't be California. Like, the people that reside in that state should dictate the ecosystem and the environment. Their voice should be the thing that matters. You shouldn't have California deciding for the entire country what is right or wrong, and the same for Texas. You shouldn't have Texas deciding for the entire country what is right or wrong. I think power belongs to the people, and that shows through states' rights. And I think overreach happens when you say, I am so certain that my perspective is the only perspective, that I'm going to pass laws in the land that every single state has to abide by. I think that's dangerous. But let's end on a good note. This is a cute little boy getting a new heart.
So happy for you.
And a haircut?
And a haircut. Oh, I didn't know you were saying
A fancy guy.
What? Oh my goodness! You're getting a new heart, John Henry. Oh, you're not matching the vibe today? You're not matching the vibe? You're not matching the vibe, John Henry? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Woohoo! Hey! I'm getting a new heart! No! Yes! You still want to go on an ice cream date? Yeah! All right. I'm getting a new heart!
Yay! That's wonderful. It's good to see you.
What flavor you want?
What do you got to tell her?
I'm getting a new heart!
Oh my gosh, that little guy is so cute. I love a happy ending. If you want the waterworks, just give me clips with little babies like that, and I can't stand it. Oh my gosh. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm glad we left on a positive note. please leave that 5-star review. And don't forget to head over to chattingwithcandice.com and sign up for that newsletter so you can stay in the know. We have some really cool products coming and launches happening this fall. And if you are part of the newsletter, you will find out first and get a special discount. I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.